Welcome to Echoes Untold, where we explore history's deepest mysteries and most chilling true crime cases. Today, we unravel the tragic and perplexing case of the McStay family, an entire family that vanished without a trace, only for their fate to be discovered years later in a shallow desert grave. Their story is one of betrayal, unanswered questions, and a darkness hidden beneath the surface of everyday life. This is the case of the McStay family murders. Joseph and Summer McStay seemed to have it all. Joseph, a 40-year-old entrepreneur, had built a successful business selling custom water fountains, which afforded his family a comfortable life in California, a quiet suburban area north of San Diego. His wife, Summer, was a dedicated mother to their two sons, Gianni and Joseph. Friends and family described them as warm, loving, and full of life. Their home was in a safe neighborhood, and by all accounts, their life was one many would envy. But as we often learn in cases like these, appearances can be deceiving. On February 4th, 2010, the McStays seemed to vanish into thin air. It all started when Joseph's brother, Michael McStay, grew concerned after not hearing from Joseph for several days. Joseph was usually responsive, both personally and professionally, and his sudden silence was alarming. Michael drove to the family's house only to find an eerie scene. Their dogs were in the backyard, unfed, and there was no sign of the family. Inside, a bowl of popcorn sat on the couch, uneaten, as if the family had left mid-movie. Food was left out in the kitchen. The scene looked as if the McStays had simply stepped out and never returned. The authorities were soon involved, and their investigation took a puzzling turn. There was no sign of a break-in, no signs of struggle, no clear indication of what had happened. But then, investigators discovered something odd. The family's car was found abandoned in a parking lot near the San Ysidro border crossing, leading into Tijuana, Mexico. Surveillance footage from the border showed a family of four, bearing a resemblance to the McStays, walking into Mexico on the night of February 8th, 4 days after their disappearance. This led authorities to theorize that the McStays had voluntarily left their home and crossed into Mexico. But if that were the case, why? Their bank accounts had been untouched, their house was left in a normal state, and there was no indication they had planned a trip. As the days turned to weeks and the weeks turned to months, speculation ran wild. Did they flee to escape something? Were they in hiding? Or was there something far more sinister at play? The idea that the McStays had voluntarily left for Mexico never sat well with those who knew them. While they had traveled before, there was no reason to believe they had suddenly uprooted their lives. Summer, in particular, was known to be cautious, especially about traveling to Mexico due to safety concerns. Despite their doubts, law enforcement continued to push the theory that they had left on their own. Some believed they might have been victims of cartel violence, while others thought they had run into financial troubles and fled. But as time went on, no evidence emerged to support either theory. Their bank accounts remained untouched. Their emails, phone records, and social media showed no indications of stress or a planned departure. There were no ransom demands, no calls for help, just silence. Years passed, and the case grew cold. Then, in 2013, the truth was finally uncovered. On November 11, 2013, nearly 4 years after the McStays vanished, a motorcyclist riding through a remote area near Victorville, California, more than 100 miles from their home, stumbled upon a shallow grave. Inside, authorities uncovered the skeletal remains of 2 adults and 2 small children. The scene was gruesome. The victims had been bound and had suffered blunt force trauma to the head. There was no mistaking it. This was no accident. Dental records confirmed the horrifying truth. The McStay family had been murdered. The shocking discovery turned the case from a missing persons investigation into a homicide case. Who could have committed such a brutal crime, and why? With the discovery of the bodies, law enforcement re-examined the case. They looked at those closest to the family and soon honed in on one man, Charles Chase Merritt, Joseph McStay's business associate and friend. Merritt, who worked with Joseph on custom water features, had a history of financial problems. Investigators discovered that in the days following the McStay family's disappearance, Merritt had written multiple checks from Joseph's business account, totaling thousands of dollars. He had also repeatedly attempted to withdraw money in the days following the family's vanishing, raising red flags. But the most damning evidence was yet to come. Phone records placed Merritt near the area where the McStays' remains were found. His DNA was later found on the McStay family's vehicle. In 2014, Merritt was arrested and charged with 4 counts of murder. Merritt's trial was one of the most high-profile cases in recent California history. Prosecutors argued that Merritt had murdered the McStays over financial disputes, fearing that Joseph was about to cut him out of the business. The defense, however, claimed that the evidence was circumstantial and that Merritt was being framed. They argued that no direct physical evidence linked Merritt to the actual crime scene. The trial lasted months, filled with emotional testimony from the McStay family's relatives. Finally, in June 2019, Merritt was convicted on all counts and later sentenced to death. The McStay family's story remains one of the most chilling examples of how greed, betrayal, and darkness can lurk beneath the surface of ordinary lives. McStay family's case is a haunting reminder that even those closest to us can harbor dangerous secrets. Their murders will forever be a chilling chapter in true crime history. What began as a baffling disappearance ended in a tragic discovery in the desert. Justice was served, but no verdict can ever bring back Joseph, Summer, Gianni, and Joseph Jr. If you found this story compelling, don't forget to like, share, comment, and subscribe to Echoes Untold for more deep dives into history's most haunting mysteries. Echoes Untold, where history whispers and we listen. Fact-check note and sources. This script is based on verified reports from court records from the 2019 trial of Charles Merritt, San Bernardino County Sheriff's Department, reports the Los Angeles Times and the San Diego Union Tribune FBI missing persons case file for the McStay family.